Greetings all, and welcome back to Luca Sprues. And we're back in the hobby store today to have a little look at the parts and inside the box of the Zvezda Boeing 737-700, or more accurately for this kit, the C-40B. So this kit I got not too long ago to do a Virgin Blue build on. So I've done some custom decals up and done a Jetstar A320 and a Bonza 737 MAX in the past, so you can check out those videos if you want. But if you've been on my socials, you'll see that I did a poll not too long ago on which scheme to do for this particular aircraft. And in the end, the majority chose the 50th aircraft, Virginia Blue, which was painted all in a light blue. So that's the scheme I'll be doing for this kit pretty soon. Hopefully I'll be starting work on it this week. I'm looking forward to it. But for now, we're just going to have a little look at the box and the part. Get a little idea on what you get when you buy this kit. So we'll start off by having a little look at the box. So on the front there you have some nice art of the presidential or the government aircraft that the US have, which is the C-40B variant obviously. So it's a Boeing business jet mainly used to transport officials around, including the president, I believe. So yeah, it's in a nice light blue scheme with those golden stripes. It looks quite nice climbing through the clouds there, so they've done a nice job on there. Then on the sides here, you've just got a little overview of the decals and some of the paints that you'll need for this kit, including the Tamiya ones. So that's pretty cool that it includes Tamiya. You've also got the Zvezda paints, which we don't really have in Australia, so yeah, you'll be wanting to use the Tamiya ones. So over here you've got a few of your warnings, you've got a few details about the kit, so 109 parts, 23.3 centimeters, and it's 144 scale, so that's pretty good. Repeat of the box art on the sides there, and then just more of Zvezda's model kits they have available. And on the back here you've just got some nice pictures of the prototype, I believe, of this kit, so you can get a really good idea on the details. And you've also got a little description of the 737, so that's pretty cool there. But anyways, let's open this one up and have a little look at the parts. I've already opened up this kit before and given all the parts a little bit of a wash in soapy water, so if a few, they'll be out of their plastic bags, but basically the box opens up by the side and you've got another box. If you lift up the tab here, you've got your actual parts. So these are the custom decals I've done up for the scheme, which I'll talk about that towards the end of the video. We'll start off by having a brief little look at the instructions, and then we'll have a look at the actual parts of the kit. Just paper instructions, pretty standard for Zvezda. Again, you've got the artwork on the front here, and then some of your warnings and your little description of the 737-700. Two options basically for this kit of configuration. You can either have the aircraft mounted on a included flight stand, which is pretty nice, landing gear up and all of that, or you can have it on the ground with the landing gear extended. So that's nice that you've got those options there. Basically, assembly of this kit is really quite simple, as it is with most 144 scale airliners. You've got a bit of detail here to put together for the inside of the landing gear bay, but otherwise you just put your wings together there. You've got included in this kit some clear windows. Don't forget to put your weight in there in the nose section, and then you've got a little nose wheel kind of part there. APU unit at the back of the plane. Put the wings on, and you've got an entire kind of clear section for the cockpit. So we'll look at those parts as well. Then you've got a few options for wings, but in the instructions at least, it only shows the next generation standard kind of winglet design there. So you put those on the end, and also you've got nav lights, which are nicely done there. A few antennas and that sort of stuff. Elevators and rudder are separate. The rudder you could pose, but the elevators are fixed into place. Then you build up your engines, not looking too difficult to do there. Basically just put the first stage compressor onto the front section of a cowling there. Then you kind of build the exhaust nozzle and the mounting point there. Then you basically slide a pair of cowlings on either side of that to finish up the engine, and there's a few smaller details there. You've got your fairings for the flaps and a few more antennas there. And then you're just assembling your landing gear. So the landing gear looks a little bit fiddly because you've got a few landing gear bay doors there and various struts and stuff to assemble there. And yeah, so that part looks a little bit fiddly, but otherwise it's manageable. And you can either have them, obviously, as I mentioned before, extended, or you can have them retracted, which is a little bit easier to do, but depends really what you want to do with the model. I'll probably have mine extended in the end, just because I like to have them displayed on a shelf like they're parked. But yeah, it's still really awesome that they include a stand. I know a lot of people are a big fan of those. Got at the back here a little sprue map. A bit weird that they've got this at the back. I would have thought the front would be a better spot for it, but oh well. And it looks to me like they've highlighted with a darker kind of outline the parts you'll actually use for the kit. I'll see if you can get it a bit more clear. Yeah, so that's interesting that they've put that there, but oh well. And that's kind of it for those instructions. You also have a separate piece with, or a separate page, I should say, with your decal placement. So yeah, pretty standard there, but it's nice that they've included it in colour. Quite nice there. Again, they've got the Tamiya paint colour codes, which if you're doing this kit in Australia, like I will be, obviously, that's really quite handy to have, because Tamiya is the most common paint, and it's really great quality, and it's relatively easy to convert to other types there. So you've got your side views there. You've also got on the back here a decal map, which is pretty handy. Helps you find where everything is, even if you've had some of the transfers slide off and you can't see the numbers anymore. And then you've just got the underside and the upper side placement for the decals. So yeah, all looks really quite good there. Not a lot of variety and options in the in terms of this kit. Really, the only thing you can do between the to change the schemes up is to change the registration for either 54613 or 50730. So depending which particular aircraft you want to do. Otherwise, it's just the standard kind of government scheme with the light blue. You've got to paint the light blue by the looks of things. It's not included as a decal, so that might be a little bit tricky, but honestly, probably a little bit easier to do than if it was a decal. So yeah, anyways, that's the instructions. Let's have a look at the actual parts that you get. So basically you have two grey plastic sprues of parts, then you've got the wings on a separate sprue, the fuselage halves, you've got a clear sprue here, and then you've got your display stand, which fits together quite nice and easy. So we'll start by having a little look at the fuselage halves there. So as you can see, there's no raised details, it's all sunken, which is quite nice. And they've done a really good job of keeping it subtle but still detailed, so you can still see the outlines of all your doors there, but the lines aren't too deep, so that's good for this scale. You don't want them to be too deep, otherwise it can look a little bit fake. But yeah, it looks like they've got all the details quite right. They've got all the doors and the various panel lines where they meet, so I'm quite happy with that. There's not an awful lot to really look at. A bit of a shame that the cargo doors and the passenger doors are all moulded to the fuselage rather than coming as separate smaller pieces like on some of the older kits. Or on their A320, they've got the passenger door at the front is optional to have it open. But I mean, it's still relatively standard, so nothing too much to complain about there. So we'll move on, have a little look at the wings. So again, pretty much the same. Very nice level of detail though. You can see all of the various drain and access ports on the underside of the wings there. You can see all your flaps, and that's all the panels there, so that's all looking quite accurate. On the upper side, you can see all the spoilers and the elevators and all of that. So they've done a great job getting all the details there. And again, it's not too excessive. So yeah, and you can see there's a tiny bit of molded detail for the landing gear bay, molded into the wings there. Pretty good for this scale. We'll have a look at this sprue. So it basically contains all the engine parts, the elevators and the tail sections. So as you can see, again, the elevators have sunken details and they're all quite nice there. Here you've got your two options for tail sections with your APU units. So they've done a good job molding that detail. It looks really quite good. Then you've got your engine cowlings there, and they're pretty much the same. So the parts are all looking quite good. I can't see much evidence of flashing. There's a few injection marks where the tool's been popped out and you can see they've left a mark, but they've done it all in spots that are relatively hidden, or pretty much entirely hidden, so that's really well engineered there. And you've got some nice details there on your fan blades. You can see all the individual fans and they're not really distorted or warped or damaged in any way, so that's really quite nice. So yeah, now we'll move on to our last sprue here, which contains the various wing options you have, the landing gear parts, and a few other little bits and pieces here and there. So I'll start out in this corner. You can see you've got a little bit of detail for the landing gear bays, and they're quite nicely detailed. So yeah, quite happy with those. the landing gear parts, which are really nicely done there. You can see all of the individual rivets. I'm not sure how well the camera's actually picking this up because it's such fine detail. And the main landing gear is the same. You've got on one side that kind of cover over the wheels. They've done it really well. It looks really good. Yeah, so there's a little bit of a seam on the landing gear or the tires, I should say, to possibly sand down, but honestly, looking really quite good. Again, there's no evidence of any low quality in the molding. There's no flashing or any mess to clean up, so that looks really quite good. And this kit's actually got a few options now in terms of customizing your aircraft or picking which one you're doing. So you've got the standard next-gen winglets, which are the ones I'll be using for the Virgin Blue 737. But you've also got the option to have no winglets, which is nice, if I can position it right. Yeah, so you've got the standard wingtips there, so that's nice. And you've also got the option for the scimitar winglets from the Max variants, or on the later 737s, they've been fitting them out with them. So you can see there's a tiny little kind of notch there, and the smaller part of the winglet here gets glued into that. So really nice details there, and it's great that they've included a few options for customization. So if you've got a set of custom decals or you order some online, which is easy to do, then you can easily modify the kit to be whichever aircraft you're wanting to. Again, rudder's looking quite good there. Same kind of level of detail as the fuselage, so I'm pretty happy with that. Now let's have a little look at the clear parts. And these are all really quite nice. I'm not a huge fan of using clear parts for windows. I personally prefer to use PVA glue. And I know a lot of people like to actually just use either a decal like a black dot, or even use clear transfer decals just to have clear windows there. So that's sometimes a better option because it's harder to make a mess with them, but otherwise, yeah, they're not too bad. The cockpit has two options. You can either have the eyebrow windows up on the roof on that version there, so I'll have to double check which version I will be using. And then you've got the more common nowadays one without the eyebrows there. So yeah, quality is quite good. There's no distortion really to speak of. And yeah, and I'm just kind of holding my thumb there to the window to have a little look inside, and yeah, they look like really quite good clear parts there. Hopefully the fit of the upper cockpit window section will fit nicely to the rest of the aircraft. It should do. Those Zvezda tend to be quite good with the fit for their parts. And then you've got a set of nav lights there, so very careful with those ones. But yeah, that looks really quite good. Again, there's no evidence of any bad production, so it should fit just as it was designed to. And now we'll have a little look at our decals. So overall, Zvezda decals tend to be really quite good quality. I haven't had any issues with silvering or being too fragile with them or too thick, so I'm quite a fan of them. But as mentioned, you've only got one scheme, sadly, in this kit, and it is the presidential aircraft scheme. But yeah, still quite nice decals included for that. So you've got a full set of windows there with silver outlines. So an option in this kit, I would say, is to actually not glue any windows in place and just use the clear transparency on the decal film to act as the windows. And you can basically get a little bit of polystyrene sheet and glue that behind some of the windows to create some window shades. So yeah, and yeah, overall these decals look really quite nice. They've done a great job on the silver kind of glossy bare aluminium, I would say, texturing, so that's really nice. I like the gold stripes in this kit. They're also very shiny and metallic. So yeah, you can read pretty much all of the small writing. I can read the no step on the wing walkway markings. So yeah, they've gone to a really fantastic level of detail there, and the print quality is excellent. And as I said, Zvezda decals tend to be quite good. All of the warning markings on the wings there are in white to match with the scheme. So if you're like me and you print out the custom decals and you need those ones done in a different color, that might be a little bit annoying that it's not included as more common red or black markings. But overall, nothing really too much to complain about. It's just designed to match the aircraft that's in the actual kit. So yeah, quite good decals. Before we do a little conclusion for this video, I'll also show off the decals that I plan to be using. So basically I've just designed these in GIMP, which is a free version of Photoshop. I've just put them on some cheap decal paper I got online through an inkjet printer. and this is the results. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how these ones turned out. I did a pretty much identical process for the Jetstar and the Bonza videos. This is the 50th aircraft that Virgin Blue received, and it was all over a light blue. Now with my custom decals, there are a few limitations. Unfortunately, most printers, or at least unless they're commercial or industrial printers, don't do white. They basically rely on the sheet of paper being white to create the color white. So unless you get a color like blue to outline the white, it will not actually be appear on the decal. So what I've had to do is basically design the color around white, and I'll have to put them onto a white background if I'm using the transparent paper, or in this case, if I'm using the white backed paper, I can just cut around the whole shape and then paint around it. So it can look a little bit patchy, but honestly, for the ability to create whatever scheme you want, I think it's worth the price. Yeah, if you're patient and spend a bit of time neatening things up, it can look really quite great, I reckon. I think it's really quite an excellent kit. It retails around about $45, which isn't too bad for a commercial aircraft of this size. There's not really any other 737s on the market at the moment, and certainly not any of the 700 series that I know of. So it's great that they've molded this particular aircraft for us. They also had the 800 at one stage, but I'm not sure if that one's still in production. They've moved on, I believe, to do the Max 8, which I've done, and it's a fantastic kit. And I expect this one will also be the same. I'd definitely recommend it for beginners or anyone who's interested in commercial airliners. Definitely great that they've included all those spare parts as well, or optional parts, I should say, for if you want to do an aircraft that has different winglets or arrangements. And nice that they included the stand, so quite happy with this kit. But anyways, I do hope you enjoyed this little inbox review. If you did, please be sure to leave a like, and if you have any suggestions, comments, or other questions, leave them down in the comment section below. And if you want to support my channel a little bit more, then you can go check out my Patreon page and support me for as little as $1 a month. I've also got a higher tier for $6 a month, which will give you access to some exclusive videos and some posts every now and again to keep updated with what I'm doing. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and of course thank you to my current patrons, and until the next video, model on.